and welcome to the TV show. I'm John.
And I'm Scotto.
And of course, as you know by the title of this video, we're continuing our review of Serial Experiments Lain. Straight on to episode 2, Girls. And speaking of straight on, this one goes right into Duvet, the opening theme, with no intro or setup, which is the first time in this series that happens. Of course, the first episode begins with the suicide. And I think I maybe could have used a recap just because it's been a while.
Well, right. It kind of started coming back to me as we're going in about the girl committing suicide, and they're getting emails from her, and the buzzing wires, and yes. This it was a few months ago that we.
It was the end of April.
Oh, okay.
Last episode of April last week of April, because I know it was the same week we did Ted Leo before we took those 2 weeks off.
Okay.
Yeah. And it starts in a club called Siberia, which was incredibly 90s. Granted, the anime was from 98, so makes sense.
Oh, cyber,
Yeah, cyber everything.
And the animation in the club had a very American pop sort of feel to it.
Well, the animation, the art style in the series is very interesting. It's very simplistic.
But it changes when they're doing the scene in the club where they're all dancing and stuff, and they're just showing people around. It's not the same type of animation that they use for the main characters.
It's a little more detailed and a little darker. I love the waitress in the gas mask.
Yeah.
Like, could there be anything more like 90s industrial?
Of course.
And of course, we get an explanation of a drug called Accelera, which is a technological drug. It's a little machine. It's like a microchip that you swallow.
A nanobot, right?
Nanobot. Yeah, that's a better explanation of it. And we get an explanation with these text screens, which is an interesting thing that this show does. Whenever they want to get across information that isn't in dialogue, they just give you this kind of abstract screen with some text on it. And later on, we get the first info dump of the series about Accelera. We just get a couple of screens of just text. They do that a few times. A couple of them are red herrings, so just a little heads up about that. And I also introduced the G-Men in this episode.
Right.
They're Men in Black G-Men types, black suits, black car.
That give themselves away with red infrared light. I don't
visors that have laser pointers on them.
Yeah, I don't get why they would do that. Hello, we're here.
And of course, the girls, aside from Lane, all of her friends go to this club called Siberia, and there's they see someone who looks like Lane in the club, but not dressed like Lane, not acting like Lane at all.
So it leads you to wonder: is there cloning involved here, or is just somebody like pretending to be her somehow through the Wired, and then appearing in this club as her?
As knowing where the series is going, I should mention for anybody who didn't see last time, I've seen the series probably 15 to 20 times. It's a case like Primer. You have to see it a lot to get your head around it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of entertaining to hear your theories about where it's going. But yeah, we get the other Lane, as I'm calling her, in the club, who is not like our Lane at all.
Yeah.
And so her Lane's friends ask her about it, and she clearly wasn't there. It's not her. It wasn't dressed like her. She's really confused by it. I also want to complain about Aris Sue. One of her friends is named Aris Sue. She's called Alice in the dub. And I want to point out, I do not recommend the dub. It's horrible.
Okay.
But Arisu is how someone, or I should say Arisu, just to say it correctly, is how someone with a heavy Japanese name would say Alice. So I think her name is actually Alice. It's just they're a little too literal in the subtitle.
Huh, okay.
It always kind of annoyed me. And after Lane's friends ask her about the other Lane, she starts hallucinating all of these weird bodies of light in the school and people walking through her.
Yeah.
Which is where things kind of start to cross over.
Right.
Yeah, she gets this big new Navi from her father. and she's talking to it, which was really forward thinking in '98. And
Yeah, I guess so.
she's asking it questions, asking it to do things like an Alexa, or Siri these days,
Or Star Trek computer.
or Star Trek computer. Okay, fair
Which
point,
is
fair
what all
point.
those are based off of.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot Star Trek really did start a lot of it. You're right.
Star
Sorry.
Trek came with a lot of technology that
Yeah,
that we're filling in the blanks for now,
right. And this was 30 years after Star
Yeah.
Trek, so yeah, that's where they got it from.
Computer on.
Right. Good point. All right. Um, and of course, Lane, who we know, the Lane we know, goes to Siberia, and that's where it gets fun because there's a shooter.
A club shooting. Damn ahead of its time.
Uh, and he starts shooting at people, and then Lane approaches him. Our Lane, the Lane we know,
Yes.
walks up to him and starts talking to him. And he says he blames her for making him do it.
Well, right. And all she says is, we're all connected. So,
Which of course leads him to, does he shoot? Yeah, he eats the gun, doesn't he?
yeah. They put
So,
the scope point into his
uh,
mouth, and then you see the blood everywhere. So does that mean she's well aware of what's happening? Or I mean, it doesn't see, which is the confusing part, is she acts like she doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and then acts like she knows what the fuck is going on.
remember I said that she's suicide begins a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
There's a line, and unfortunately, I don't have my notes who said it, but the wired can't be allowed to interfere with the real world.
That's
Actually,
the father.
okay, he said that.
Mhm.
That's a big hint.
Well, right, because you realize then it's too late that they are crossing over, and that's most likely what the images are that she's seeing.
Mhm. And Lane, I have the line she says to the shooter before he eats the gun: "No matter where you go, everyone's connected."
Yeah, which I mean, really, and considering what with the friend's suicide is that you're just gonna go into the wired,
Mhm.
there isn't an escape from this.
So, bearing that in mind, who do you think Lane 2 is?
Um, well, oh, wait a minute. Is it her father?
No, no. Although he's part of the whole, there's a conspiracy. He's part of it, but
Well,
that's
right.
way down the road.
Well, obviously. But who else would be hacking her identity is really what's going on.
And with that, I think that brings us to the end of episode 2
Yeah.
of Serial Experiments Lain. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't. Um, Also, we are banking 3 episodes in a row, so that's why we're wearing the same things in all 3 episodes.
No, I like this fucking purple shirt. I'm gonna wear it from
Oh,
now on.
yeah. All right, so of course, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
There you are.